After the show, don't forget to join us on Telegram, where you can discuss the episode.
This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neil Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains. I'm Nathan Williams. In Europe and even North America, the shift in the crypto market has moved from traditional ICOs over to security tokens and non-coin blockchain projects, but some of the core problems of blockchain have not yet been solved, including throughput, including consensus mechanisms, and over on the other side of the crypto world, in the Pacific Rim, things are still going strong. Today, what we are going to do is we're going to talk with Bina Cho, the Director of Marketing Strategy for FLETA. FLETA is a primary blockchain protocol that has a different consensus mechanism called Proof of Formulation. They are based in Korea. Bina, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hello, Nathan. Very nice to meet you.
So, as I understand it, I've been reading through your white paper, Bina, and FLETA token seems to be fairly complex. But at its core, you've got this idea that's called proof of formulation. How does it work?
Yes, our proof of formulation is FLETA's own consensus model. So, it's like I'm much more like the marketing person rather than the tech person. So, to briefly explain about the consensus model, it's much more like unlike the POW or POS, there is no competition in terms of the mining. So in case of the POW or POS, people need to compete with each other to get a block VS. But under the POF, we are just set the rank of the block mining first. Then the people get the block VS based on the order. And this order is decided by our algorithm, so that everybody can know about their when they are going to get a block VS and who is going to get a block VS. So it's very very fair, transparent block VS with no resource waste.
So as I understand it, the idea is that if I've got a computer that is participating in your mining reward system, that I would go in with a block of transactions that maybe were submitted to my computer that I want to make part of the FLETA chain. And then as a formulator, I would be assigned some sort of order or some sort of rank that I would work with other formulators, and then whoever is the highest rank would get to make the next block, and then my rank would move up and the number one would be kicked out. And so there's sort of like an order.
Yes, exactly. So that everybody can get a block VS, and once this miner get a block VS, is going to move to he or she is going to move to the later part, and the following person get a block VS. So they don't need to compete with each other, and everybody can get a block VS based on this algorithm.
Okay, so in Bitcoin, in proof of work, everyone gets a block of transactions and then they compete to find a mystery number that will solve the block. When you hash everything, it creates a hash that starts with 3 zeros. And so if different nodes have different transactions in them, the one that is deemed to be correct is the one that wins that competition. And they get rewarded for doing this with a certain number of Bitcoin. In proof of stake, there are different ways of doing that, but essentially different nodes have to stake a certain number of coins, of crypto coins, in order to have something to lose if they start cheating the system. And the ones who have staked those coins then have to compete for the permission to mint a block. Now, what you're saying, if I've got a block of transactions and you've got a different block of transactions, what will happen is that whoever is ranked in a certain order will get to go first.
Yes, right.
How is that order determined?
Well, this order is determined based on our the kind of certain calculation, and this calculation, it's like the lottery. It's like a kind of the lucky draw. So everybody who participates in mining, they are doing this kind of lucky draw to choose the order of the block mining. So it's like if this person picked the number with the number 1, is going to be the first one who get a block VS, and who got the number 2, the next person is going to get a block VS.
Usually when you have a different type of consensus mechanism, you have some sort of trade-off. So for example, with Bitcoin and proof of work, you're trading speed for security because it takes about 10 minutes to confirm a block and an enormous amount of energy. But because you're doing that, it's protected against people trying to subvert the system. With, for example, proof of stake, you get more speed out of the matter, but the nodes or the people who join early will have more coins and therefore get more of the rewards long term. So you're trading sort of centralization, or I guess rewarding the rich get richer for speed. What are the trade-offs with proof of formulation? What do you get and what do you give?
Well, to be honest, from our perspective, one of the biggest trade-off. I don't want to say that it's a trade-off, but one of the challenge from our perspective is that this is a brand new consensus model. So the people don't understand about our consensus model that much, because that would be one of the biggest challenge, because actually our block time is 0.5 seconds, which would be I think that this will be one of the fastest block creation time on the current blockchain platform, and this actual number is coming from our alpha testnet. So it's not just a concept, it's not just a theory, it's we have this kind of result based on numbers. So that, well, from the perspective of the technology, or the kind of block mining, or the other marketing perspective, or the sales perspective, or from the ecosystem participant perspective, I think that this will be one of the most fair and very interesting the proof of the consensus model, I think.
What of the challenges with blockchain, even the simplest, or I'm not sure if it's the simplest, but it's definitely the most readily known blockchain, Bitcoin, the thing we compare everything to, is people understanding what it is and how it works. And with any sort of system where you have to put your trust in the algorithm instead of a person, understanding how it works is probably important.
Yes.
And I can imagine that if you have a system with proof of formulation, where you have sharding, where you have maybe an order of magnitude more complexity, even if it's much more solid, that understandability of how it works and why it's trustworthy must be a difficult barrier to overcome.
Yeah, right. So that's the reason that I'm here right now, to make people understand and get to know about the consensus model POF.
One more question, I guess, about the consensus model before we move on. What are the most important use cases for this? Because generally with different types of blockchain, they're meant for different problems. Like Bitcoin is meant for a scenario where you have financial transactions and nobody trusts anybody. No one has to trust anybody. Proof of stake is more for situations where you need higher throughput. Private chains are for where you have some trust between the participants, and speed and electricity usage is more important. What type of scenarios are best suited for a blockchain like FLETA?
Well, the FLETA blockchain platform actually coming from the idea to overcome the issues of the gas or the staking. In this kind of gas or staking, this leads from to the kind of make the resource efficiently operated on the platform. But on our FLETA platform, this kind of gas or the staking would be a huge problem, a huge challenge to the developers or ecosystem participants. So we thought that to make this for the platform to actually prevent the fork or make this resource efficiently operate. We may actually come up with this kind of technology to make this kind of developers to create and operate their project with a minimum hassle. So I would like to say that in case of use cases, well, any developers who would like to plan and operate their project on the platform with the minimum hassles, this would be the best use cases.
Now, one thing that struck me when I was reading through your white paper is that you've got a patent application pending. And I know that patents are a sensitive issue for blockchain and for the crypto community in general.
Yes.
That a lot of, for example, there was a huge backlash when Hashgraph came out and was trying to make their sales the Hedera Hashgraph because they chose to patent. Because the blockchain community really at its core was started with this open source mindset of crypto anarchists who didn't trust the system, wanted to fight the power. What was behind the decision to patent, and what has been the reaction from the community?
Well, for the patent actually is for the marketing purpose, not kind of something that the others cannot use or the proof of the formulation or the block redesign technology. It's just like we like to, everybody knows that we have this kind of innovative technology. And even though we are on the process of the patent, and even though we can get a patent in the later this year because we are still under the application process. Well, we don't have to do any kind of certain action to make people not to use our technology.
So it was a marketing decision then, more than an intellectual property decision?
It's much more like a marketing decision.
It's interesting. What is the community's reaction been? Because usually when you do something like patenting, the crypto community says, no, we don't like that. But have things changed, or is it different in maybe Korea?
People actually don't care about that kind of, this patent would be the huge problem or huge hassle for them to use our technology. They much more show more interest than the platform in Korea who don't have this kind of patent. So for us, it's the positive.
One of the reasons that people didn't like, for example, Hedera's patenting their algorithm is because they also kept their code closed. It was not open source. Are you going with an open source code?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It's an important question for something that's a public blockchain.
Yes.
It's like, does this really work?
Of course, we are the public blockchain, so we're going to open the source definitely. Actually, our beta testnet is coming up on the 13th of February, the next week, so that the people can get to know and kind of analyze the source code on a GitHub. So we're very looking forward to it.
Oh, very nice. Now, the thing is, Korea has been for a long time an important center in cryptocurrency and blockchain. And in Europe, the hype around buying token sales and utility tokens and ICOs has really calmed down. My question is the cryptocurrency and ICO possibility still open in Korea and in the Pacific Rim? Are people still buying in ICOs?
Yes, of course. The Korea is one of the biggest crypto investment market. So even though the kind of the last year from October, many people experienced this kind of a doom situation in the crypto investment. But even though this kind of crypto investment is not that much active in other parts of the world, but still in Korea, it's very active, and people still invest in their money in this market for this kind of support this kind of their interest project.
Now, are you doing only a mining model, or are you also planning an ICO at some point?
Well, yes, of course, we are going to hold the ICO, definitely. We are on the process of the private sale right now, but we are going to sell we are going to conduct the public sale later this month, we assume. And along with the token sale, we are also going to sell our mining node, So it's like our mining, I think that I need to explain about mining node first.
Yeah. Like, how does it work with the mining nodes? Like, am I just able to join with my computer?
Oh yeah, sure. So it's like our mining is happening on the cloud network. So no need to buy this kind of mining machine at all. All they need to do is just kind of click on the buy button on the FLETA website to buy the mining node. And for the kind of this mining node, we are, along with the public sale, we are planning to sell the mining node too for the certain the kind of limited number for the people who actually get the mining node.
So what's the advantage? Is the mining node like an ASIC? Is it more efficient at mining in the FLETA architecture?
Yes, of course. It's like our mining node is like some kind of similar to master node.
Oh, okay.
So yes, so that the people they don't need to buy any kind of a graphic card. They don't need to buy this kind of huge, kind of amazing, kind of the computer specification. This our alpha testnet is processed based on the full core system and the 8-core CPU. That means that this full core and 8-core, it's kind of the general computer specification for the most people. So that everybody who does have this laptop with this kind of the full core, at least more than full core specification, they can actually participate in our mining with the minimum hassles.
So you've got the mining nodes that you're selling. You've got an upcoming ICO. Now the ICO, as I understand it, is that going to be in FLETA tokens, or is that going to be an ERC20 token?
While in the beginning stage, we are issuing our token based on ERC20. But after launching our mainnet, we are going to convert into the FLETA coin later.
Okay, so does that mean that FLETA can interface with other blockchains such as Ethereum?
Well, is not likely, but it's like other most of the most of the project do. They convert their token from the ERC20 to their own mainnet base coin. So that's what we are going to do. And you're speaking about the kind of the interface. We are also applying the interchain technology on the FLETA platform. So I would like to speak about the independent multi-chain structure first, because this will be one of our key technology as well. So this independent multi-chain structure is like the provider the kind of the mainnet or the chains to each app. So each app is like they have their own mainnet. So if they kind of operate the project on the FLETA platform, they are have their own chain. If the app would like to exchange their data and kind of merge their data and kind of come up with create a new business by merging this D app A to D app B, we can kind of support this interchain network system on the FLETA platform, so they can actually kind of create and merge their data on the FLETA platform.
I think I've heard a couple of different projects before moving towards something like a multi-chain structure or like parallel chains, or where you have, if I was creating a D app on FLETA or on whatever, that it would sort of be a side chain in a sense, where it would interact with the main chain. Like, is there a specific way that it works with FLETA?
Oh well, but it's Lots of people ask us that it's just like the side chain, but well, no, it's completely different one. When you watch the introductory video of the FLETA, you can hear that the FLETA is like a universe. So it's like we are providing change to each the app, and they are actually not connected to the main chain. The FLETA main chain is operated by itself, and this kind of DF chain is likely to operate on the FLETA universe in a kind of completely separate chain.
I see. How does that project with its own chain that's completely separate maintain connection to the rest of the FLETA universe?
Yes, it's just like it's all of the FLETA platform is operate on the cloud network. So that's how even though this chain is separated, there is a network or the server is on the same level. So that's how we can actually provide the FLETA solution to the app, even though chain is separated.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that there is a FLETA server that keeps track of all of the different FLETA chains that are operating. And so the chains are running essentially on multiple computers, but each project is separate. But they run with the same type of protocol. And then there's a cloud server run by FLETA that keeps track of them all and allows them to exchange data or something like that?
Yes, exactly. Well, for exchange data, is if they want to apply this interchange service, we are going to support this interchange service to certain DApp, not every DApp.
But doesn't that make it completely centralized? Like, isn't that just FLETA running it?
Well, actually, that one is, I think the centralization or decentralization don't mean that much in the blockchain, the network, blockchain industry anymore, because this is like one of the, I think the blockchain is like a tool for the people actually kind of the make their life better or make their kind of life way convenient. It's like an internet. It doesn't, this kind of decentralization or centralization is kind of the matter of the philosophy, not some kind of the theory that we need to follow every time.
Well, in a way, Bina, isn't like the question comes back to a question I asked you earlier, which is which problem are we solving and what are the best applications for this? So Bitcoin, for example, is designed for a scenario where nobody trusts anybody and nobody has to. Ethereum is similar, where it's designed in a system where people don't have to trust each other. Private chains or proof of authority systems are designed for scenarios where where you need to trust an entity, or maybe a group of people, maybe not over a long period of time, and so to keep accountable. And the question is, if you've got centralized server that keeps track of multiple different chains, do people have to trust your team? And if so, what oversight do you have so that they can trust your team? Not to change, for example, the access to the protocol.
The protocol, the consensus protocol on the FLETA platform is the POF, and we have the observer node. And this observer node is not managed by FLETA. It's going to be managed in the beginning stage. We are going to manage and operate this observer node. But while we are develop our project, we are also this kind of the observer node to this kind of share this observer node to the other people, so that everybody can fairly participating and see how this observer node goes, so that they can trust our FLETA platform.
And that's normal. That's normal. Like to start with sort of a centralized or a more centralized system, so that you can test it out and then decentralize later. I don't think that's an issue, especially nowadays when you're dealing with more and more complex algorithms. But I think my question is around this multi-chain structure, where you've got sort of a centralized, or as I understand it, a platform or a cloud server that's run by you that keeps track of data interchange. Do people need to rely on you in order to maintain it? And if so, what separates this from, say, a private or permission chain?
Well, as I mentioned, the FLETA is like the universe. So, in the universe, nobody controls it. So we are just providing the service to the app developers who like to develop their project with the no scalability limits or no kind of pricing, the challenge. So it's like we are not going to control or the manage or the kind of overlook or this kind of data on the FLETA platform. We are just kind of support the app ecosystem for them to create and kind of grow their project with more sustainable for the sustainable ecosystem.
Okay, so again, just because this seems really complicated, but it also seems rather important. If you've got a multi-chain structure, what you're saying that means is that people can take the FLETA protocol, build a completely different DApp on it that's running almost like a fork, but not a fork of the FLETA protocol that would be connected, but the connection would be optional, I guess. Like if they wanted to connect to the main thing, it would be optional.
This interchange is completely optional.
Okay, and so then the interchange then would be handled through FLETA, but that's not necessarily a core part of the functionality. Like it's still a public chain.
Exactly.
Okay, I see. That's where I got confused. Okay, so no, that sounds very, very interesting. And so I guess if you wanted a data interchange, then they would talk to you to run through this platform.
Yes, exactly.
I see. Cool. So you guys have coming up an ICO. You guys have your testnet coming up end of February. You said, is that correct?
Yes, our testnet is coming up next week, the 13th of February. And along with our testnet launch, we are also launch our FLETA, the own app game, which the name is the FLETA City Simulation. So that even though we open our beta testnet, not many people who have the kind of general background, they don't actually read or understand our FLETA technology. So to make the most people experience and get to know our technology better, we also launched our FLETA City Simulation, so they can while they're enjoying their own city on the game, they can also experience the FLETA technology in a very, very fun way.
Oh, nice. So is there like a website that people can go to get involved?
It's gonna be published on the 13th of Feb, so they will let you know later.
And the URL is
www.fleta.io.
.fleta.io, FLETA.io. Project is FLETA. I've been talking with Bina Cho, the Director of Global Marketing. Thank you very much, Bina, for coming on the show. And
thank you very much, Nathan.
Good luck with everything going forward.